Who will survive the crisis? That's the topic of today's video. We're going to look at a few issues. This was actually taken off the end of the previous video. It's really important that you watch all these videos because I'm getting through so much information on a daily basis. Now, if you haven't seen the previous video, you don't necessarily need to watch it in order to see this one. I have just included more and more information. Let's get into it. Munchkin says the US should weigh forgiving small PPP loans. I believe the number was $150,000. Thinking about anything less than $150,000, you've got forgiveness. That's right. They are going to be granting people your tax dollars if it was less than $150,000. We'll see what happens with this. I just think that it's a little out of place for the government to be involved in this in the first place. They still tax everybody. They still do all of these different things when they could have been just lightening the load off of people, the burden there. They still want people's income taxes, but we'll delay it a while. Why not just not accept the taxes? And that's essentially a boost to you. So if you're taxed at 30%, let's say your income tax, if they just said don't pay income tax this time around, that's 30% more in your pocket and a heck of a lot less administration cost. But of course, they would never do that. That's a ridiculous idea. Instead, we'll just grant out a whole bunch of money to whoever the heck wants it, but not the little guy. The little guy's not going to get anything. It's just the businesses, it's just the mega businesses. They're going to get money like the big banks got $18 billion in fees. If anybody applied for these loans, of course, they're forgivable, as I told you they would be. Now here we are. It's all going ahead as planned. I wanted to know what's happening with open table data. This is showing us the restaurants open for reservations. It seems to have peaked out right here, just above this 60% mark. Okay, that's the percentage of restaurants taking reservations. It's been fluctuating up and down, and I want to get the newest data as it comes out here. If there is going to be a lockdown 2.0, which seems like it's on already, but that could result in this number coming down. The latest information is from 7/15, so it is quite up to date. So I'm going to bring that to you. Obviously, this one industry does encompass a lot of jobs. Mall owners renting out parking lots. A new revenue source from parking lots is likely a welcome reprieve for landlords coping with the new reality of a number of their tenants either closing for good, paying less rent, or not paying rent altogether. I think this is really interesting, not just because they're doing drive-in movie theaters or whatever it might be. They're getting creative, and that's what really needs to take place today. For those businesses that changed what they do rapidly, almost overnight, they were able to retool and stay in business, stay operational. I think, I just commend the efforts, not just sitting around and saying, well, what can I do about it? They realized what was going to happen. They knew it was going to be a prolonged situation, so they adapted. That just shows the ingenuity, and I just find it interesting, that's all. For some individuals out there, their business, they just couldn't adapt to it, and unfortunately, they've had to shut down. Look at what's happening with, these big box retailers. They're all filing for bankruptcy. This is just the final nail in the coffin, it looks like. Two things before I finish the video really quickly. CEO of major Asian bank says a big challenge is looming for the global economy. Banks could experience far more damage to their balance sheets when stimulus measures that are keeping many businesses afloat are rolled back. That's the question. Do they roll back, or do they just permanently print money and deficit spend forevermore? Do they allow the debt to expand and essentially guarantee a collapse at some point? Or do they begin to roll that back? He explained that governments cannot keep supporting the business community financially, so you'll start to see a lot more default, which in turn means that you'll start seeing the problem spill over to the financial sector. This to me is big news. It's important to see what's happening with all of the defaults, the commercial mortgage-backed securities, which we've seen delinquencies and many, not just commercial mortgage-backed securities, but of payments of all kinds. The problems have really escalated here in this period, and I want to see what happens in the coming months as we get the newer and newer data. And since you stayed to the end, I wanted to bring this to you, always trying to bring as much humor to the channel as possible. Check this out. At least a dozen lawmakers have ties to organizations that receive federal aid, according to newly released government data. It highlights how Washington insiders were both author and beneficiary of one of the biggest government programs in U.S. history. Isn't it fantastic that those who wrote the laws are able to benefit from everything that's been happening here? Why not give some forgivable loans to this group? We want to be nice. We want to work with Congress. That's what Little Munchkin said. We want to work with Congress. That's what the little munchkin literally said. We want to work with them. Of course, you're on the same team. You're going to give those forgivable loans to these companies, maybe in the first round and in the second round. And those creating these laws, making all of this happen, are going to benefit from it. Are you going to benefit from it? Absolutely not. Are you going to get anything from it? Absolutely not. But just like Orwell said, you're going to get a boot to the face. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. I want to thank all of those people out there who have supported me by watching the advertisements, by giving me thumbs up, by any means. I really, really do appreciate this. It's so important to me to hear from you every single day. It really does keep me going. Thank you very much. If you want to check me out on Instagram and Twitter, new stuff all the time at The Money GPS. If you want to learn how to sell stuff online, this right now is a very good time to learn. Even if you don't want to actually go ahead and start a business or anything else, just to learn. I have a free e-course. 7,500 people, the last time I checked, are in it. So definitely check it out at theamazongps.com. Do you want to understand the financial system? I'm talking about all the details, top to bottom, A to Z, in these two books. Check the link in the description if you want the audiobook, themoneygps.com. Wait a second, don't go anywhere. Have you seen this video? It really did well in terms of how many views in a 24-hour period. If you haven't seen it already, if you're not one of those people, definitely check it out. Click it. I will see you there.